The sound of distant gunfire echoed through the rubble-strewn streets of Dustfall as Staff Sergeant Mike Torres adjusted his tactical vest and scanned the devastated Syria neighborhood. The 32-year-old SEAL Team 6 operator had seen plenty of combat zones during his 8 years in special operations, but something about this place felt wrong. Skeletal remains of apartment buildings jutted up like broken teeth, each shadow potentially concealing death. "Ma'am, this is a combat zone," Torres said, his voice carrying the authority of extensive military experience as he looked down at the middle-aged woman kneeling beside a white humanitarian aid crate. "You shouldn't be here." Evelyn Carter, 52 years old with steeled gray hair pulled back in a practical bun, looked up from where she was organizing medical supplies. Her weathered hands moved with practiced efficiency as she sorted bandages and antiseptic. The Red Cross on her vest marked her as a civilian contractor. "I'm just doing my job, Sergeant," she replied with a gentle smile that didn't quite reach her hazel eyes. The sharp crack of a high-velocity round split the air above their heads. Petty Officer Jake Wilson, barely 25, dubbed behind the nearest chunk of concrete as the bullet ricocheted off twisted rebar. "Contact. Sniper, 11 o'clock high." Blood began seeping through his digital camouflage uniform at the shoulder. "9 snipers confirmed," shouted Hospital Corpsman 2nd Class Danny Davis from behind their armored Humvee. "We're completely pinned down." The maze of destroyed buildings seemed to come alive with malevolent intent. Lieutenant Rodriguez, the team leader with 15 years of experience, pressed his radio handset against his ear. "Base, this is Ghost 7. We need immediate extraction. We have civilians and are taking effective sniper fire from multiple positions." Static crackled before the response came. "Ghost 7, extraction not available. Handle the situation with assets on hand." Torres shot a frustrated look at Evelyn, who remained surprisingly calm. "Ma'am, you see what's happening here? Civilians always make everything more complicated." But while the highly trained SEALs scrambled for cover, Evelyn was doing something different. She was counting the time between shots, counting the angles of trajectory, counting the slight variations in muzzle flash positions. Her eyes tracked across the battlefield with analytical precision remarkable for a humanitarian aid worker. "Mission status update," Rodriguez called out. "Dr. Sarah Whitman, American biochemist, captured 72 hours ago. Intelligence suggests she's being held in this sector. Enemy knew our approach and set up a perfect ambush." "LT, how the heck did they know we were coming?" Wilson winced. "Someone leaked the operation," Torres replied grimly. "They've had 3 days to set up this kill zone." Rodriguez checked his watch. They had been under fire for 18 minutes, and ammunition was already running low. 9 shooters minimum, Torres assessed. Professional spacing, coordinated fire discipline. These aren't local insurgents. Evelyn continued her methodical inventory of medical supplies, but her peripheral vision was mapping every detail of the battlefield. She noted how the enemy rotated firing positions every 3 to 4 minutes, observed the slight variations in bullet impacts, and recognized the tactical pattern, a classic urban ambush designed to maximize psychological pressure. "Ma'am, you need to stay low," Wilson called out. "I can see that," Evelyn replied, her tone remarkably steady. She opened another aid crate and began examining its contents. The radio crackled again. "Ghost 7, be advised. Dr. Whitman has critical intelligence regarding VX7 nerve agent production. Enemy is attempting to extract information through enhanced interrogation. Time factor is critical." "What's VX7?" Wilson asked. "Next-generation nerve agent," Davis explained. "Way more potent than anything currently in existence. If they get that formula, we're looking at potential casualties in the hundreds of thousands." Another shot rang out, striking the ground just 3 feet from where Evelyn knelt. Instead of flinching, she simply looked in the direction the shot had come from and made a mental note. "Ma'am, seriously, you need to get behind the vehicle," Rodriguez ordered. "I appreciate your concern, Lieutenant," Evelyn said, opening yet another crate. "But I think I'll be fine right here." Torres shook his head in frustration. Civilians never understood the realities of combat. We need to move, Rodriguez decided. Torres, can you identify a route to that collapsed building at 2 o'clock? Torres studied the terrain carefully. Negative LT. They've got overlapping fields of fire covering every approach. We move out there. We're casualties in 30 seconds. Counter sniper fire? Wilson suggested. With what equipment? Davis asked. We got standard infantry weapons. Those guys are using precision rifles from elevated positions. The radio provided another update. Ghost 7, intelligence update. Dr. Whitman's location may be compromised within 6 hours. This is your window. LT, I'm seeing movement in Building Charlie, Torres reported. Looks like they're repositioning. Evelyn finally stood up, brushing dust off her knees. She walked over to Wilson, her steps confident despite the ongoing sniper fire. Let me take a look at that shoulder, she said, kneeling beside the injured SEAL. I'm fine, Wilson protested. Humor me. Her examination was swift but thorough, her fingers probing with precision that spoke of extensive medical training. Arterial nick from 7.62 NATO, she pronounced. Clean entry, minimal tissue damage, but you're going to need that properly sutured within the next few hours. Torres stared at her. Ma'am, how exactly do you know about sniper ammunition specifications? I read a lot, Sergeant. Before Torres could pursue the question, Davis's voice cut through. Movement, Building Alpha, multiple personnel. Looks like they're setting up for a coordinated assault. Rodriguez grabbed his rifle. Through his scope, he could see armed figures moving with professional military formation. These guys know what they're doing, he assessed grimly. While the SEALs focused on the threat, Evelyn had moved to a position where she could observe the enemy positions. She pulled out a notebook and began sketching, her pencil moving quickly. What are you drawing? Wilson asked. Just making some notes, Evelyn replied. The sketch showed the surrounding buildings in remarkable detail, with precise annotations marking angles, distances, and probable firing positions. Rodriguez glanced over and felt his breath catch. The drawing was a professional tactical assessment, complete with fields of fire and dead space analysis. Ma'am, he said carefully, that's very thorough work. Thank you, Lieutenant. I like to be prepared. Torres moved closer to examine the drawing. The woman had identified at least 3 sniper positions the SEALs hadn't even noticed, along with probable secondary positions and withdrawal routes. How long have you been doing humanitarian work? He asked. About 8 years now, Evelyn answered. Since I retired from my previous job. What kind of work did you do before this? Government service. Nothing very exciting. Another volley of sniper fire forced everyone back into defensive positions. Ghost 7, this is Overwatch, came a new voice. We have eyes on your position via satellite. Count 9 confirmed enemy personnel. Additional forces moving to encircle your location. Overwatch, can you provide fire support? Rodriguez requested. Negative, Ghost 7. Civilian population and friendly asset locations, unknown. You are cleared for self-defense only. This keeps getting better, Wilson muttered. Evelyn had finished her sketch and was examining her aid crates more carefully. She opened one marked emergency medical supplies and began removing items. Torres noticed she seemed to be looking for something specific. Ma'am, what exactly are you looking for? He asked. Just checking to make sure everything is properly secured. As she spoke, Torres caught a glimpse of something metallic inside the crate that definitely wasn't medical supplies. Contact left, Davis shouted. Sniper in Building Delta. A high-velocity round struck their Humvee's engine block. The shot had been precisely placed to disable their mobility. Engines hit, Torres reported. We're not driving out of here. LT, we need options, Wilson said. Rodriguez checked his ammunition count. At their current rate, they had perhaps 45 minutes before running critically low. Torres, what's your assessment of a direct assault on Building Charlie? Torres studied the target. 400 meters of open ground, multiple Overwatch positions. We'd take heavy casualties before getting within 200 meters. Evelyn had been listening while continuing to organize her supplies. Excuse me, Lieutenant, she said quietly. I might be able to help with your problem. Torres turned with barely concealed irritation. Ma'am, this isn't a medical situation. Unless you've got a tank hidden in one of those crates, I don't think there's much you can do. You might be surprised, Evelyn replied, opening another crate. This one was larger and marked with different symbols. As she began removing items, Torres felt his understanding undergo a fundamental shift. The crate held components of what appeared to be a precision rifle system, each piece carefully padded. "What is that?" he demanded. Evelyn looked up calmly as she began assembling the weapon with movements that spoke of extensive training. "Insurance," she said simply. The rifle that emerged was unlike anything in the SEAL's standard inventory. It was clearly a custom-built precision instrument. The scope alone probably cost more than most soldiers made in 6 months. "Ma'am, who exactly are you?" Rodriguez asked. "Someone who's tired of watching good people get hurt," Evelyn replied, checking the rifle's action with practiced efficiency. Torres watched in amazement as she completed the assembly in 47 seconds. Her movements were economical and precise. Muscle memory developed after thousands of repetitions. "Have you ever used a rifle before?" Wilson asked. "Once or twice," Evelyn replied with a slight smile. She stood and slung the rifle across her shoulder, examining the rubble-strewn terrain. "The building at our 11 o'clock position," she said, pointing to a partially collapsed apartment complex. "I can get to the roof level and establish overwatch from there." Torres followed her gaze. "Ma'am, that's a suicide run. You'd be exposed for at least 2 minutes. They'll cut you down before you make it halfway." "Maybe," Evelyn agreed, "but probably not." Rodriguez stepped forward. "Ma'am, I need you to stay with the team." "Lieutenant, with respect, you don't have time to find another way," Evelyn replied. "Dr. Whitman's window is closing, and your ammunition won't last much longer. Then I'll assign someone to escort you." "No," Evelyn said firmly. "I work better alone, and you need every rifle here." Before anyone could respond, she reached into her vest and produced a small military radio. "Lieutenant, can you switch me to your tactical frequency?" "What frequency do you need?" "Charlie 77.5 should work." Rodriguez made the adjustment. "Angel, you're now on our tactical frequency." "Ghost 7, this is Angel," came Evelyn's voice. "Testing communications." "Angel, we have you loud and clear." Before anyone could stop her, Evelyn stepped away and began moving toward the target building. Her method of movement was unlike anything Torres had seen from a civilian. She used bounding overwatch, moving from cover to cover in short rushes that minimized her exposure time. "Holy cow," Wilson breathed. "Look at her move." Evelyn's movement pattern was textbook special operations procedure. She advanced in short bounds of 10 to 15 meters, using natural cover to break up her silhouette. Most importantly, she moved with confident precision. The enemy snipers began engaging her position, but their shots consistently arrived at locations she had already vacated. "She's reading them," Rodriguez observed. "She knows exactly how they're going to respond." Torres nodded. "That's not beginner's luck. That's professional-level field craft." Within 8 minutes, she had reached the target building and begun ascending through the rubble-filled interior. "Ghost 7, this is Angel," came her voice. "I'm in position and beginning target assessment." "Angel, copy that. What's your situation?" "I have visual on 9 confirmed targets. Recommend you maintain your current positions until I complete the engagement sequence." Rodriguez felt a chill. The woman was using military terminology and tactical procedures that suggested extensive training in special operations. "Angel, what's your background?" "Government service, Lieutenant." Like I mentioned earlier, the radio went silent as Evelyn began her work. Through their binoculars, the SEALs could see her establishing a shooting position on the building's 6th floor. "First target acquired," came her voice. "Building Alpha, 3rd floor, northwest window, range 847 meters. Torres felt his breath catch. 847 meters was an extremely long shot for any sniper. "Angel, that's a very challenging shot. Are you sure about your range calculation?" "Positive, Lieutenant. I've got favorable wind conditions and good target identification." Taking a shot in 3, 2, 1. The rifle shot echoed across the battlefield, followed by silence from Building Alpha. Target down, Evelyn reported calmly. What followed was a masterclass in precision shooting. Over the next 13 minutes, Evelyn systematically eliminated each enemy sniper position with single well-placed shots. Target 2 down, Building Beta, 2nd floor. Target 3 down, Building Charlie, 4th floor window. Target 4 down, Building Delta rooftop position. Each shot was followed by confirmation that another enemy position had been neutralized. Torres found himself watching marksmanship that exceeded anything he had encountered in his military career. Target 5 down, Building Echo, 3rd floor balcony. Target 6 down, Building Alpha, secondary position. Target 7 down, Building Foxtrot stairwell window. Wilson was keeping track. 11 minutes so far. 7 targets down. Target 8 down, she reported. Final target at Building Delta, 2nd floor. This one's moving, so the timing will be critical. Torres watched through his scope as the last enemy sniper attempted to relocate. Target is moving to the stairwell, Evelyn reported. I have a narrow window of opportunity as he crosses the landing. The final shot was the most technically challenging, requiring her to lead a moving target at extreme range. Taking the shot now, the rifle cracked one final time, and the battlefield fell silent. All targets eliminated, Evelyn reported. Area is secure for movement. For a long moment, nobody spoke. What they had just witnessed was shooting of a caliber that few people in the world were capable of performing. Angel, this is Ghost 7, Rodriguez finally transmitted. That was extraordinary work. Thank you, Lieutenant. I'm beginning my descent now. As Evelyn made her way back, Torres found himself re-evaluating everything. The woman had just performed a precision shooting demonstration that would have been impressive for the most elite military snipers in the world. LT, Wilson said quietly. Who the heck is she, really? That, Rodriguez replied, is an excellent question. When Evelyn rejoined them 20 minutes later, she showed no signs of stress or fatigue. The area should be clear now, she reported. You can begin your search for Dr. Whitman without immediate sniper threat. Torres stared at her. Ma'am, I need to ask you directly. What's your real background? Evelyn looked at him with those same hazel eyes. I told you, Sergeant. Government service. What kind of government service involves shooting like that? Torres pressed. The kind that's usually classified, she replied. But given current circumstances, I think we can make an exception. Rodriguez stepped forward. Ma'am, we need to know who we're working with. Evelyn was quiet for a moment. Finally, she reached into her vest pocket and withdrew a small leather case. Inside was an identification card that made Torres's eyes widen. Central Intelligence Agency, Special Activities Division, she said simply. Retired, but apparently not forgotten. The revelation explained everything. CIA Special Activities Division was the agency's paramilitary arm, responsible for covert operations that required military-level skills. Retired when? Rodriguez asked. 8 years ago, Evelyn replied, after my son was killed in Afghanistan. I'm sorry for your loss, Wilson said quietly. Thank you, Evelyn replied. He was serving with the Rangers when an IED took out his convoy. After that, I decided I'd rather save lives than take them. But Torres began. I just did what was necessary to protect you and complete your mission, she finished. Sometimes the best way to save lives is to stop the people who are trying to end them. The radio crackled. Ghost 7, we're showing all hostile signatures neutralized. Status report. Base, this is Ghost 7, Rodriguez replied. Situation is under control. We had assistance from a civilian contractor with relevant experience. Beginning movement toward the primary objective now. Roger, Ghost 7. Be advised. Time factor remains critical. Dr. Whitman's location may be compromised within 4 hours. Angel, Rodriguez said. Are you available to provide continued support? Evelyn looked toward the buildings where Dr. Whitman was supposedly being held. I didn't come this far to quit now, Lieutenant. Let's go find your doctor. As the team prepared to move out, Torres found himself looking at their unexpected ally with new appreciation and growing shame about his earlier behavior. "Angel," he said, using her call sign with obvious respect. "I owe you an apology." "For what, Sergeant? For underestimating me? For assuming I was just another civilian who didn't belong in a combat zone?" Evelyn smiled, and this time it reached her eyes. "Don't feel bad about it, Sergeant. That's exactly what I was hoping you would think." The team moved through the devastated streets, with Evelyn now taking point, her movements fluid and purposeful. "Building layout ahead," Evelyn reported. "Three-story structure, partially collapsed eastern wall. Probable enemy presence on second floor, based on movement patterns I observed during the sniper engagement." Torres exchanged glances with Rodriguez. Her ability to gather intelligence while conducting precision shooting demonstrated remarkable multitasking. "Angel, what's your assessment of enemy strength?" Rodriguez asked. "Two guards, possibly three. Minimal training based on their positioning. This appears to be a holding facility rather than a defensive strongpoint. The building appeared to have been a residential complex before the bombing. Intelligence had placed the biochemist somewhere inside, but the exact location remained unknown." "Ghost 7, this is Overwatch," came the voice from headquarters. "Satellite imagery shows minimal movement in target building. Recommend caution. Possible booby traps." "Roger, Overwatch," Rodriguez acknowledged. "Angel, what's your assessment of entry options?" Evelyn studied the building through a compact spotting scope. Ground floor has been deliberately collapsed to funnel movement toward the stairwell. Classic defensive preparation, but amateur execution. Second floor shows signs of recent occupancy. "How many people?" Torres asked. "Three distinct heat signatures when I had elevation during the sniper engagement. Two guards, one smaller signature that matches our target profile," Evelyn confirmed. "Dr. Whitman is likely being held in the northeast corner room, second floor." Davis checked his medical kit. "How do we approach without alerting the guards?" Evelyn lowered her scope. "We go in fast and quiet. I take point, neutralize the guards, secure Dr. Whitman, and signal for extraction support." "Negative," Rodriguez said immediately. "We don't send anyone into hostile buildings alone." "Lieutenant, with all due respect, urban infiltration was my specialty for 12 years, Evelyn replied calmly. "I've done this exact mission profile in Beirut, Mogadishu, and Kandahar more times than I care to remember." Torres felt his understanding shifting. 12 years of urban infiltration work with CIA special activities meant she had operational experience that probably dwarfed his own. "Angel, what was your operational designation with SAD?" he asked. "That's still classified," Evelyn replied. "But my call sign during active service was Ghost." The revelation sent a chill through the team. Ghost was a legendary figure in special operations circles, known for impossibly successful solo missions in environments where entire teams had failed. "Holy cow," Wilson breathed. "You're the Ghost, the one who extracted that diplomat from Tehran single-handed." "Among other operations," Evelyn acknowledged, "though I'd prefer if that information didn't become common knowledge outside this team." Rodriguez felt his tactical assessment undergo another fundamental revision. If the woman offering to infiltrate the target building was indeed the legendary Ghost, then their mission success probability had just increased dramatically. "What do you need from us?" he asked, making the practical decision to defer to superior experience. "Perimeter security and extraction support," Evelyn replied, already beginning to prepare. "Give me 30 minutes to get inside and assess the situation. If you don't hear from me by then, assume the mission has failed and extract with available personnel." She began removing items from her gear that might create noise. The process revealed additional equipment that definitely hadn't come from standard humanitarian aid supplies. Night vision goggles, suppressed sidearm, and specialized breaching tools. "Angel, that's military-grade equipment," Torres observed. "How does a retired CIA operative maintain access to current operational gear?" "Retirement from intelligence work isn't quite the same as retirement from other professions," Evelyn explained. "Some assets remain activated for contingency situations." Today qualified as a contingency. Davis was beginning to understand. Ma'am, are you saying this entire mission was planned around your presence? Not planned exactly, Evelyn replied. But when American citizens are captured by terrorist organizations, certain protocols are automatically activated. Sometimes those protocols involve assets that officially don't exist. The team watched as she conducted a final equipment check with movements that were clearly automatic after years of similar preparations. Movement protocol, Evelyn continued. I'll enter through the collapsed eastern wall and work my way up through the building's interior. Maintain radio silence unless you observe immediate threats to the perimeter. Questions? What if things go wrong? Wilson asked. Then you complete the mission without me, Evelyn replied matter-of-factly. Dr. Whitman's intelligence is more important than any individual operator, including myself. Before anyone could respond, she moved toward the target building with fluid grace. Her approach route took advantage of every piece of available cover, and within minutes, she had disappeared into the structure's damaged interior. Ghost 7, this is Overwatch, came an update. Time factor is now critical. Intelligence suggests enemy forces are preparing to relocate Dr. Whitman within 2 hours. Rodriguez checked his watch and felt the familiar pressure of a mission timeline compressing. Overwatch, Roger. Angel is inside the building now. Angel, came a surprised response. Ghost 7, please clarify your personnel status. Rodriguez hesitated. Overwatch, we have civilian contractor support with relevant experience. Operational details to be debriefed post-mission. Roger, Ghost 7. Be advised, Washington is monitoring the situation closely. Success is imperative. The radio went silent, leaving the SEAL team to maintain perimeter security while their unexpected ally conducted the most dangerous portion of their mission. 23 minutes after Evelyn entered, Rodriguez's radio crackled. Ghost 7, this is Angel. I have eyes on 2 guards and confirmed Dr. Whitman's presence. Beginning neutralization sequence. Roger, Angel. We're standing by. What followed was a masterclass in close-quarters combat. Through their observation positions, the SEALs could hear suppressed gunfire and sounds of movement. But the action was over so quickly they barely had time to process it. Guards neutralized, Evelyn reported. Dr. Whitman is secure, but requires medical attention. She's been drugged and shows signs of physical mistreatment. Angel, can she move under her own power? Rodriguez asked. Negative. I'm going to need assistance getting her down to ground level. Davis immediately moved toward the building entrance. I'm coming in to help with medical assessment. Roger. Southeast stairwell, 2nd floor, last room on the right. When Davis reached Dr. Whitman's location, he found Evelyn providing first aid to a woman in her 50s who was clearly in bad condition. The biochemist was conscious but disoriented with visible bruising and signs of dehydration. How long has she been like this? Davis asked, beginning his own assessment. Based on her condition, probably 36 to 48 hours without adequate food or water, Evelyn replied. They've been using pharmaceutical interrogation techniques. She's going to need 4 fluids and probably psychiatric counseling once we get her to safety. Davis checked Dr. Whitman's vital signs. Blood pressure is low, pulse is rapid but stable. We can move her, but she's going to need immediate medical attention once we reach base. Dr. Whitman looked up at Evelyn with confusion. Who are you? Someone who's going to get you home safely, Evelyn replied gently. Can you tell me if they made you reveal any information about your research? I don't remember clearly, Dr. Whitman stammered. They kept giving me injections. Everything is fuzzy. I tried to resist, but the drugs made it so hard to think. Evelyn exchanged a concerned look with Davis. Chemical interrogation was notoriously unreliable, but could potentially extract information even from subjects who didn't consciously cooperate. Dr. Whitman, this is very important, Evelyn continued. Do you remember talking about your research? About chemical formulas or production methods? Maybe. I try not to, but the drugs, Dr. Whitman began crying softly. I'm so sorry. I tried to resist, but I couldn't think clearly. Davis helped support Dr. Whitman as they began moving toward the exit. Ma'am, you did everything you could under impossible circumstances. What matters now is getting you somewhere safe. As they reached the ground floor, Rodriguez's voice crackled over the radio. Angel, be advised. We have movement from the north. Multiple vehicles approaching your position. Evelyn immediately shifted back into combat mode. How many and what type? 3 vehicles. Appears to be technical trucks with mounted weapons. ETA, approximately 5 minutes. The arrival of enemy reinforcements meant their extraction window was rapidly closing. Ghost 7, this is Overwatch, came an urgent transmission. We have drone coverage of incoming hostiles. Count 15 to 20 enemy personnel with heavy weapons. Recommend immediate extraction. Overwatch, Dr. Whitman cannot move quickly due to her condition, Rodriguez replied. We need alternatives. Stand by, Ghost 7. Evelyn was studying the tactical situation with analytical precision. Lieutenant, we can't outrun them carrying Dr. Whitman, and we can't defend this position against superior numbers with heavy weapons. Recommendations? Rodriguez asked. I create a diversion to draw them away from your extraction route. Evelyn replied. You move Dr. Whitman to the alternate LZ while I keep them occupied. Torres immediately shook his head. Negative. We don't leave team members behind. I'm not a team member in the traditional sense, Sergeant. Evelyn reminded him. I'm an asset whose job is to ensure mission success. Dr. Whitman's intelligence is more valuable than my life. The sound of approaching vehicles was becoming audible, adding urgency to their discussion. They had perhaps 3 minutes before the enemy forces arrived in sufficient strength to prevent escape. Angel, there has to be another way, Wilson protested. Sometimes there isn't, Evelyn replied calmly. This is what I trained for. Let me do my job. Before anyone could stop her, she had moved to a position covering their withdrawal route and begun setting up a defensive position. Ghost 7, this is Overwatch, came a welcome transmission. Fast mover inbound for close air support. ETA, 3 minutes. Take cover and mark your position. The arrival of air support changed their tactical options dramatically. Instead of sacrificing Evelyn to create a diversion, they could use precision air strikes to eliminate the approaching enemy forces. Overwatch, how close can you put ordnance to our position? Rodriguez asked. Danger close authorized. Mark your location with IR strobes. Each team member activated infrared markers that would be visible to the incoming aircraft but invisible to enemy forces without night vision equipment. Angel, get back here, Rodriguez ordered. We're going to let the Air Force handle this problem. Evelyn returned to their position as the sound of jet engines became audible overhead. Ghost 7, this is Reaper 21, came the pilot's voice. I have eyes on 3 vehicles approaching from the north. Confirm these are hostile targets. Reaper 21, confirmed hostile. Multiple armed personnel, direct threat to American personnel and asset. Roger, Ghost 7. Ordnance inbound. Take cover now. The air strike was over in seconds, but its effects were devastating for the enemy forces. Precision-guided munitions eliminated all 3 vehicles and most of the personnel before they could establish defensive positions. Reaper 21, this is Ghost 7. Excellent work. Target area is clear. Roger, Ghost 7. We're remaining on station for your extraction. Safe travels. With the immediate threat eliminated, the team was able to move Dr. Whitman to their extraction point without further complications. The biochemist was still weak and disoriented, but her condition was stable enough for transport. Ghost 7, this is Dust Off 31, came the voice of their extraction helicopter. I have visual on your strobes. Landing zone appears clear. Dust Off 31 confirmed. We have 1 priority medical evacuation and 4 ambulatory personnel. The UH-60 Blackhawks settled into the improvised landing zone with practiced precision. Within minutes, Dr. Whitman was being loaded aboard while flight medics began providing advanced care. As the helicopter lifted off and headed towards safety, Rodriguez found himself looking at Evelyn with new understanding. Angel, he said over the aircraft's intercom system, I need to ask you something directly. Was this entire mission a setup? Did somebody arrange for you to be in Dustfall at exactly the right time? Evelyn was quiet for a long moment, watching the devastated landscape pass beneath them. Sometimes operational necessities require creative solutions, she finally replied. The important thing is that Dr. Whitman is safe and her intelligence remains secure. That's not really an answer, Torres observed. No, it's not, Evelyn agreed. But it's the only answer I can give you within my current operational constraints. The helicopter flight to their base took 45 minutes, during which Dr. Whitman's condition continued to improve as the effects of the drugs wore off. By the time they landed, she was alert enough to provide preliminary intelligence about her captivity. They knew about my research, she told Rodriguez during the initial debriefing. They had specific questions about VX-7 production methods and storage requirements. Someone provided them with classified information about my work. How much did you tell them? Evelyn asked gently. I don't know for certain, Dr. Whitman admitted. The drugs made it impossible to think clearly. I may have revealed critical details without realizing it. The possibility that terrorist organizations now possessed information about advanced chemical weapons was a national security nightmare. We need to assume they have significant intelligence about the weapon system, Rodriguez decided. That information needs to be passed up the chain immediately. As they completed the initial phases of their debriefing, Torres found himself thinking about the broader implications of their mission. The presence of CIA assets in humanitarian operations suggested layers of planning that went far beyond their original briefing. Angel, he said quietly, how often does this kind of thing happen? CIA operatives embedded in civilian organizations. More often than you might think, less often than conspiracy theorists believe, Evelyn replied. Intelligence work requires flexibility and creativity. Sometimes that means using unconventional cover identities. Wilson rejoined their conversation. Ma'am, what happens now? Do you go back to humanitarian work? That depends on several factors that are above my clearance level, Evelyn answered. For now, I'm content to know that Dr. Whitman is safe and our mission was successful. The formal debriefing process took several hours, during which each team member provided detailed accounts of the operation. Evelyn's role was carefully documented, though certain aspects of her background remained classified. Ghost 7, this is Colonel Morrison, came a transmission from headquarters. Preliminary assessment indicates mission success with exceptional performance. Well done. Thank you, sir, Rodriguez replied. We had extraordinary support from our civilian contractor. Roger. That contractor will be receiving appropriate recognition through separate channels. Your team is being rotated back to base for standard post-mission protocols. What followed over the next several days was comprehensive review of the mission that would have far-reaching consequences for everyone involved. Torres found himself summoned to Colonel Morrison's office on the second day after their return. Sergeant Torres, the colonel began, I've been reviewing your mission reports and the statement from other team members. There seems to be a significant discrepancy in your assessment of the civilian contractor. How so, sir? Torres asked, though he suspected he knew where this conversation was heading. Your initial report described her as an impediment to mission success and recommended stricter protocols for civilian presence in combat zones. However, every other account describes her as essential to mission completion. Torres felt his stomach sink. Sir, my initial assessment was based on incomplete information about her background and capabilities. Sergeant, this woman is a decorated CIA operative with more combat experience than your entire team combined. She quite literally saved your lives and completed an impossible mission.